What's up, everybody? My name is Tucker. In today's video, we're going to talk about some NBA players that are already on the trade block. If you enjoy the video, make sure to subscribe, leave a like rating on it as well, and check out my socials in the description. With those things said, let's go ahead and get started. So we begin with an entire team. Their name is the Indiana Pacers. This is a team that I would say, I don't even know if high expectations is the correct word, but higher expectations than what I've seen out of this team so far to begin this year. I thought that they had a significant upgrade at the head coaching spot. I still think Rick Carlisle is one of the better head coaches in the league. I thought they had plenty of depth, they had good top-end talent, and they were a team that generally people were overlooking. However, they have started this season 1-6, which is like amongst the Magic and the Pistons right now. Like not nearly where anybody thought Indiana would be, even if you were very, very pessimistic about this roster. Nobody thought they would start the season with a similar record to Detroit, a team that's not even close to being ready to try and win basketball games. Part of the issue has been the fact that they just have not been healthy. From the first game, their injury report has been a disaster. TJ Warren has not touched the floor yet. Malcolm Brogdon has missed a few games. Karis LeVert has played in literally one game, which is part of the reason why Chris Duarte is averaging like 35 plus minutes per game as a rookie. But we're not here to talk about necessarily the team. We're here to talk about the trades, because if this is who Indiana is going to be, if they're going to be a 1-6 basketball team, there's no point in keeping most of these guys on the roster. They've got plenty of good players. Brogdon can't be traded this year because he signed the extension, but down the road, he's certainly a trade asset. He was in discussions to be involved in the Ben Simmons trade. Karis LeVert, I still think has some value, but it'd be nice if he would get on the basketball court. TJ Warren, same thing. And then, of course, the two big names here are Domantas Sabonis and Miles Turner. Sabonis is an all-star caliber player. Whether he makes the team or not, he is absolutely an all-star caliber guy, can really pass the basketball, has worked on spacing, really good post scorer, and would be a pretty seamless fit with a lot of different teams around the league. He certainly has value. Like I said, Miles Turner is like the trade machine darling of the last couple of seasons. So if there is a team out there that wants to improve their roster once we get later on in the season, Indiana might be a surprise place for them to look. So I know that the title of the video says 5 NBA players. This is all one entry, just the Indiana Pacers roster in general, because it has been a disaster of a start. Now, granted, the injury stuff has been a problem. It's been a pretty tough schedule as well. They've already played Milwaukee, they've played Brooklyn, but still, you would have liked to see them start better than 1-6. They get San Antonio tonight, so maybe things will start to turn around then. Duarte's been really good, and once they get healthy, maybe they'll be back to being that team that's going to be right around or a little bit above 500, where I thought that they would be, just because of the depth and the versatility and the ton of different options they have in this roster. But right now, it's been an awful start, which is kind of a theme here for our next team, and it's the Boston Celtics. When I say that, and I'm talking about a trade block video here, what do you think the first name is in your mind that I'm going to talk about in terms of a player on the trade block in the Boston Celtics? Yeah, it's going to be Marcus Smart. We've talked about this, I don't even know how many times. He recently signed the extension in the offseason. I don't know what the rules are about whether he can or can't be traded this season, but regardless, he's played awful. Hasn't been fully healthy, which is constantly a Marcus Smart issue. But offensively, it's been a disaster. And if Marcus Smart can't space the floor to at least a league average level, it's a problem. Because yes, he can still be a very, very good defender, but he's not on the same level that he used to be. And he's a really nice glue guy to have around, but he's also a nice glue guy for another team, and you can get value out of that. And if Boston's not going to be I think they're 2-4 right now. If Boston's not going to be a team that is at least like the 7th or 6th seed in the Eastern Conference with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum there, then they need to figure out some other things on this roster. I'm not at the point where we're saying that we need to trade Tatum or Brown or anything like that, but for me personally, they are creeping way closer to a possible trade-away destination than I ever thought they would. It's 6 games. I get it. Most of these teams have barely played 6-7 games. I understand that. But all I can do is talk about what's happened so far, right? And so far, it has been nothing short of a disaster for Boston. Not just the record, not just the stats, whether it be for Smart or otherwise, but they just haven't even looked good, and things might go really poorly. And if they do, Marcus Smart is a guy to keep an eye on. Next up, this counts as 2 entries because it's 2 players, although they're from the same team. Houston Rockets, John Wall, Eric Gordon. Any slight hope that maybe anyone had at the beginning of this year about how Houston might be mildly interesting within a very deep Western Conference and potentially a team that could just be slightly better than people thought they would be, maybe push for the play-in game late in the season, and any of that hope has very, very quickly dissipated. Jalen Green's going to be a very good basketball player. Kevin Porter Jr. is interesting. They've got all these rookies and guys, Şengün, all these guys But they just don't have enough veteran talent to really be a significant threat to anything in the Western Conference other than a potential high pick in this upcoming draft. And so as a result, John Wall, who's a guy that's already requested a trade, and we haven't heard literally anything about that trade request or his trade value or the trade market for him since he requested it, and he's like stepped away from the team, so he's not even involved. I don't know what they're going to do with him. Eric Gordon is the much more interesting one to me. I've talked about this previously. I think you can pretty much put Eric Gordon on any team in the league, and he would be able to find a role, especially any of these contending teams like the Lakers that need shooting, and they need a guy that he isn't a fantastic defender, but he's strong and he's willing to at least get in someone's way. And that could be a very, very helpful skill set to a variety of different teams around the league. And I think someone that could get Houston not an incredible amount of value, but something there. So 2 names to keep an eye on there. I'm not ready to start trading away Christian Wood or anything from this roster, but I think out of all the teams I've talked about so far, it's certainly not too early to be discussing what the Rockets can or can't get out of their kind of veteran assets here. So now we go to the last one. And kind of the theme to this point has been these teams don't have very good records. And there's circumstances and there's reasons behind that, right? Indiana, tough schedule, injuries. Boston, just the cohesion's just not there. They don't look right. The Rockets just aren't very good. This last team, though, is probably going to be getting its own video soon. They are arguably the biggest disaster in the NBA right now, and it's the New Orleans Pelicans. I don't even know what to do with this team anymore. They're 1-6. Zion hasn't come close to playing yet, and there's videos going around of him warming up before games and barely looking like an NBA player, physically, and it just, I can get into all that another time, but point being, it's concerning. It's concerning that this is someone that a couple of weeks before the season started, they said he was going to be ready for the start of the year, and then a couple of days before the season started, like, hey, by the way, that's not going to happen. We got imaging back, and it's just not going to work. And there's no timetable for him to return. Like I said, he doesn't look good. And so you're probably wondering how this wraps itself back up into like a trade block discussion. It's the entire roster, the medical staff. I don't care. Like it's almost already a like clean house scenario in New Orleans. Brandon Ingram is a very, very good player. The expectation cannot be that he carries this basketball team by himself. Like Devontae Graham is out there doing some stuff. Okay. They got JV in the offseason. They got a rookie that's been decent for them. But without Zion, it just doesn't work. And if this is where we're going to be at, where Zion is just going to be iffy on whether or not he's going to be playing at any point, like last year might be the one really healthy Zion year that we get, then this might just be a complete reset, break it down, use these picks and other stuff, clean house. I know they just got a new coach. It's like their 3rd coach in 3 years, but like the front office might need to be entirely cleaned out. And I don't want to step too much on a future video that is definitely going to be happening about New Orleans. But at this point, from a trade block standpoint, I mean, I don't know that anybody should be untouchable, in New Orleans, apart from, I mean, I guess Zion and Brandon Ingram. But even at that point, I don't know, because Zion might be trying to, work his way out. He might be pulling the James Harden. They don't look like a good basketball player off, on the court, off the court, whatever. It's different circumstances, but he might be just pulling that. He's like, hey, just get me out of here. And, he might get his wish at some point. So yeah, those are the 5 entries. So we've got the Indiana Pacers and their entire roster, the Pelicans and their entire roster. We've got Boston and Marcus Smart. We've got John Wall and Eric Gordon in Houston. And there's a variety of different places these guys can go, because I think the theme of the beginning of this season is highs and lows. The lows are a lot of the teams we've talked about here. There's a lot of teams that have 1 or 2 wins through their first 6 and 7 games of the year. And a lot of them, people did not expect them to be that bad at the beginning of the year. And it's a huge season. It's a 82 game season, and it's only, 6, 7, 8 games of it. But I think it's clear that some of these teams just aren't going to be as good as we thought that they initially would be. And then on the other end of the spectrum, the highs are there, but maybe not from teams that we would have expected either. New York, Charlotte leading the Eastern Conference. And right in the middle are those teams that we expected to contend for the season, and they might be teams looking to make moves like this, getting another role, bringing in Eric Gordon, trying to get someone like TJ Warren to help you out on the wings as a shooter. They're like, if you go and look at any of the things we talked about in this video, these players would be a really good fit for the Lakers, for the Nets, for Milwaukee, teams that have had, for Phoenix, teams that have had iffy starts to the season from a record standpoint, might need a little bit of help, this is probably the first place they'll look in terms of players that are already on the trade block to begin the season. But that is going to be the end of today's video, and I thank you guys very much for watching. Once again, my name is Tucker. If you missed any of my previous videos, be sure to check out the boxes on screen, check out my socials in the description as well, and leave a like rating on it if you enjoyed it. With all this thing said, once again, my name is Tucker. Hope you guys have an awesome rest of your Monday and beginning of your week, and I will see you all next time.